co-host today. What's your name?
Warren.
Warren. How old are you, Warren?
5.
5? When's your birthday, though?
In June. And it's April.
And it's April. And it's coming soon. And then how old will you be?
6.
6 years old. And how come you're not at school today?
Because we're having spring break.
That's right. Which means Mama has a lot of time to spend with you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you liking that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, I think I'm done. I'm done, but...
Okay, can you say bye?
Bye-bye!
Okay. All right, everyone. So now I'm alone. I turned on a show for him to watch so that he'd leave me alone for the next few minutes. We'll see how long it lasts. I told him to watch 2 episodes of Pokemon, but we'll see. Probably won't happen. So yes, it's spring break, and Warren has been with me. We've been pretty chill, hanging out. Yesterday was rainy, so we stayed inside all day, and that might be the case today as well, although it's sunny. But I see some nasty clouds, so who knows. So, since I didn't say at the beginning, my name's Jessica. This is Disastrously Domestic, a podcast that is about my crafty life and life in general. So you can find me on Ravelry as Sugarsticks. And you can find me on Instagram. And I should say, I have changed my Instagram name, so sorry if this is confusing. You can find me on Instagram as disastrously_domestic. It used to be Dirty Jezzy, so I just thought it would be better if my names matched in more places. Yeah, so Disastrously Domestic with an underscore on Instagram, and I share way more than any one person should share on Instagram. I have been doing a lot of knitting and starting new projects, and I've been buying a lot of yarn, and I need to stop doing that because it's getting really bad around here. Let's just start with FOs, because I have 2 FOs and I'm very excited. I have shown a few of these, there's only 2. I showed one of these on Instagram in its blocking form. I finished a pair of socks. So I showed these last episode, I think. They're the Static Zing socks by Megan Williams. And this is just, I want to say Regia Opal, one of those, in a really pretty spring color. And I knit them both. And the thing about these that was kind of holding me up was that the first sock that I finished from this pair, it was too long by about an inch, and it was enough that I couldn't deal with it. It was just, I couldn't suffer through it. I couldn't fold it into my, because you're not gonna do that with hand knit socks. You're gonna take the time to fix it. So I knit them toe up, and the second sock was finished, the correct size, and so I ended up cutting the toe off of the first sock and picking up stitches. Which one is it? So this is the one that I cut the toe off, picked up stitches, and it's not perfect, but you really can't tell. Yeah, but I'm really happy with them now. They fit perfectly, and yes, I highly recommend this pattern. I think I'm going to knit this pattern again, but I'm going to use a better yarn. Because you can see a little bit of the variation of the pattern, how the columns are a little different. And that's because you're slipping stitches for every other knit column. But with this yarn, a lot of times, the colors ended up being the same, just the way the striping pattern worked with these socks. So next time I knit these, I think I'm going to either use 2 different yarns or have something with a more definite stripe pattern so that I can control it a little bit more. But overall, very pleased with these socks. Now hold on a second because my son is calling me. Parenthood. So I'm back. Anyway, that's my first FO. Very excited. And this is also one of my lingering projects that I've been trying to check off my list, so I'm quite pleased with that as well. Now my second FO is very exciting. It is the beautiful Volskaya Shawl. Can you see the whole thing? By Kristen of Vollenvine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast. And I did this as part of her knit along, which ends on April 15th, I believe. And I have discovered that knit alongs are awesome. Because I don't think I would have finished this quite so quickly if it weren't as part of a knit along. So I've been joining a lot of knit alongs lately. But oh my goodness, isn't it so lovely? Ain't she lovely? So the story behind this pattern is that she was thinking of mermaid tails and waves. And then like this is like a fishnet. And if you know me, you know I adore the sea. And I adore mermaids. And I think I was a mermaid in a past life. And you think I'm joking, but I'm telling you right now I'm not joking. And I'm quite cold, so maybe I will leave this on. So I did it as part of her knit along. I need to actually post a finished object photo in her group. And I'm going to do that later today, I think. But, oh, this is so pretty. And it's knit out of Tash Merino Light in the Cousteau colorway. Which I'm a nerd, and I'm excited about that because it's a sea-themed shawl, right? But yes, I highly recommend this pattern. It worked up pretty quickly. It has an applied lace border, and it has beads, which was a lot of fun. And I knit a huge chunk of this while we were traveling in St. Petersburg, so I will always think about Russia when I wear it. Ah, it's just so pretty. Okay, so those are my FOs. And I'm going to pause again because my son is talking to me again. All right, hold on. All right. So we decided to watch Cat in the Hat instead of Pokemon. And it was very urgent that I fix it for him. Yeah. So, those are my FOs. I'm excited about them. As anyone would be, I guess, to finish something. So, whips. I am still working on things that I mentioned in the last episode. My Enchanted Mesa pullover is still in the works, and I really haven't worked on it too much. I've done a few rows here and there, so I don't have that to show. Those fingerless mitts, I still haven't cast on the second one, so I'm not going to show those. I haven't worked on my hat, my sockhead hat. So yeah, basically nothing that I showed you in the last episode has had any progress whatsoever made on it, aside from the socks. So, with that said, I started a new pair of socks. I know I said I was supposed to be knitting down my whips, and I do have some other sock whips that are lingering, but I decided to cast on the Fine and Dandy socks. This is a pattern by the Sweater Co. And I'm using Cherry Tree Hill for this minty green color. And then the heels, toes, and cuffs are Leftover Dreamin' Color Starry from another project. And I had some issues with this pattern. It is kind of a tricky stitch to do, but I've pretty much got it down, and I can do it pretty quickly now, but my gauge is crazy. I'm knitting the smallest size, which casts on 58 stitches, or 56, I don't remember. And I actually went down a needle size from what I usually do. I usually knit socks on size 2. And so for these, I did the toe, heels, and cuff in a 2, and I knit the rest of it with a size 1. Which is unheard of for me. But it worked out, it blocked out, and I think the pattern looks nicer on the size 1 needles than it did on the size 2. So I've started the second one. Let's show that. Started the second one. I'm about to the heel, almost. Let's see, I did 6 repeats of the pattern on the first one. So 1, 2, 3. So I've done 4 repeats of the pattern. I've got 2 more, and then I'll start the heel. So very excited about these. They're going by very quickly, and I think part of the reason is because I am joining the knit along that's going on for these socks that ends on April 30th. And knit alongs are kind of magical. They really help me finish things. So I really think that's why I've made so much progress and why I finished this so quickly, why I'm gonna finish these within the next few days. And that knit along, if you're interested in joining it, is being hosted by the Yarn Junkie podcast and the Brooklyn Knit Folk podcast. And you post your finished objects in their respective groups on Ravelry. And I think there's a prize involved. I don't even care about I don't even care about prizes. I'm just excited to be doing something with other people so that I can be like, yay, look, I did this, and people will actually get why I'm excited. So that's another whip. And speaking of knit-alongs, I've joined a year-long knit-along that is being put on, again, by Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. And it is the Box o' Socks knit-along. And the premise of this is that you're supposed to knit 12 pairs of socks throughout this year. And then at the end of the year, you put those 12 pairs of socks for yourself, they have to be for yourself, into a pretty box and take a picture. And that's it. That's it. So you can choose whatever pattern you want, whatever, like, I think any weight of yarn is okay as well. And so I decided to do that. So here's my box. It's a US map box that I picked up at Joann. And inside I have 2 pairs of socks. This one is the one I just showed you, and then these are my Hermione's Everyday socks that I finished recently. So those are in there. These will be in there by the end of the week, I'm sure. And yes, I'm very excited about this knit along because it's very low key. It's kind of just up to you. And the thread is really fun to see. Some people are really fast at knitting socks. I struggle with socks, and I find that having this knit along going has really encouraged me even more to finish these whips that I have, and it's gotten me really excited about sock knitting again. And I am not a huge sock knitter. I've mentioned before that I get bored on the second sock, and I tend to just forget about them. But with this, I'm finding that I really am enjoying socks, and I have recently acquired quite a bit of sock yarn, which I will talk about later. Because, yes, let's keep things in some sort of semblance of order here. So yes, I'm very excited about all my projects that I have on the needles, and I have a few more. I have two more whips that I'm gonna show because I'm excited about them. The next one I'm going to show, I don't have much to show. This is the yarn. It is Knit Picks Preciosa, something like that, in a very bright canary yellow. I think the color is actually called Canary. And right now I have about an inch of 2x2 rib. I need 2 inches before I start the body, and this is a sweater. This is a sweater called the Honey Bee Cardigan by Laura Chow, and it is one that I have had in my queue for a few years, and I finally got up the nerve to cast it on, because the stitch pattern is not a straightforward kind of thing. It involves dropping stitches, or it involves making yarn overs and then dropping the yarn overs and picking them up, and the stitch pattern resembles bumblebees, which I adore bumblebees. I have bees tattooed on my body. I love them, I love them, I love them. I want to be a beekeeper and have that be my life. So I did a swatch for this pattern and entered it into my knitting journal, which is a magical thing that I just discovered other knitters were doing, and I decided to do it as well. So here is my swatch. So that is the stitch pattern. It's really beautiful, and it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be. And isn't that the way with knitting? Like, you're really intimidated by something, and then you just try it. You just jump in, you try it, and everything's fine. So it's really pretty. So this is what my knitting journal looks like, in case you're interested. So I just have the, the start date, the needle size, the yarn, the designer, any modifications that I'm gonna do, and the swatch. And actually, I am really horrible at knitting swatches. I never do it. Eek. I know, I'm supposed to do it. But I found that having this, I really wanted to make a swatch just so that I could put it in my journal. Is that nerdy or what? I love it. I love record keeping. I don't know. I have half of a master's in library science, and my focus was archives and special collections. So I'm totally into posterity and what have you. So journaling, totally my thing. So yeah, that is really exciting. Again, I've got just a little bit of progress on it, and I'm kind of taking my time because I get burnt out on 2x2 rib. And a lot of times I will cheat and make my bands shorter just so that I don't have to do that much rib. But for this project, because it has been in my queue for so long and it's such, like, what's the word? Grail projects, like holy grail projects, where this is something I've wanted for so long. And it represents a huge, like, part of my life, the bee thing. I don't know. I really do want to do my best with this, and so hence the swatch, hence the continuing sallying forth with the 2x2 rib, as much as it annoys me. And this pattern is actually written as, you can make it as a crop, or it has directions for full length as well. So I'm hoping to make a full length, even more so than full length. I'm hoping to get it almost a tunic length with 3/4 sleeves. The pattern calls for 3/4 sleeves, and I'm gonna keep it that way. And I'm doing it a little oversized as well because I'm into that right now. And yellow is one of my favorite colors in the world. And it's funny how much I love yellow because my mom also really loves yellow, and my brother also really loves yellow, and I love yellow. So yellow's like our family color. Like if we had a crest, it would be a yellow fox. Because my mom's last name is Fox. Anyway, TMI. So that's very exciting. I love it. And then since I finished this shawl, I like to be working on a shawl at all times, and I pulled out another lingering whip because I'm really trying, guys. I'm really trying to finish things. I pulled out my Follow Your Arrow shawl. This is a pattern by Isolde Teague. The lovely, adorable Isolde Teague. And I've knit this before. This was a mystery knit along. So this is my first one, okay? It's very nautical, of course, because anything sea themed I'm into. So that's the first one that I knit. And at the same time, I cast on another one. Now you can see how very different it is. So this pattern is sort of a play on those create your own adventure storybooks. And each clue is comprised of A and B choices. So I decided to cast on two ages ago and knit all the clues, basically. And I just picked this back up because it's lovely and I really want to finish it. So I'm using yarn that is hand spun by me. This is a gradient yarn from Fiber Optic Yarns. It is a superwash merino, I believe. It might have silk in it, I can't remember. So it starts as this really light blue, and it ends up being a very inky, dark, navy, purpley, black type color. And I'm hoping that I get to that by the end. So I've knit the first 3 clues. I've done the business of trying to figure out where I left off, and I think I left off right at the end of clue 3. Thank the knitting gods that it's that simple. And I didn't stop in the middle of a clue. So I'm going to be working on this for the next few weeks until it's finished. There's clue 4 and clue 5. And I just love how different these are. Even your yarn choice makes it so different, but also the shape is a completely different shape. Like this is sort of a trapezoid, and this is more of the triangular. I just think it's such a clever idea, and I was always really excited about it, but I don't really know why I put this down. It's one of those things. So I'm working on that, and I'm using my signature needles. They're lovely. And I want to finish it as quickly as possible because I have a lot of yarn coming in the mail. Some of that yarn is going to be put toward a Knit and Slide by Stephen West. It's his newest pattern. It's really, really interesting. It has a very wavy border that sort of reminds me of sea creatures. And I have a few yarns in stash that I want to put toward it, but I also took advantage of the Web's anniversary sale and picked up some Dream in Color lace weight that I'm gonna add into that. But I think I want to use these signature needles for that, which means I need to free them from their chains here. So that's in the works. But I don't have that yarn to show you yet. It's coming. It's coming to be. I do have a few other yarns that I could show. So these will be acquisitions for this week. The first is Tosh Twist. I think that's what it's called. In Electric Rainbow. I feel like all the colors are really washed out, but it's hard to tell. Maybe there's too much light in this room. So this is a light fingering. I'm gonna use it for a pair of socks. Ah! And this is living in my box. I'm actually using my box as sort of a planning container. Does that make sense? And I'm putting future project yarns in there as well as my whips and things when I'm at home. So there's that. I'm really excited. I'm not sure what socks it's going to become. I'm actually thinking about knitting another pair of monkey socks by Cookie A. And I believe there's a knit along for Cookie A patterns going on right now. I think the Pin Feather and Pearls podcast is doing a knit along. Maybe I'll join it. I don't know. I've got a lot of plans, so we'll see. And then the next yarn that I got is this. It's like black with blue and green and a little bit of white. It is from the Knitted Wit. I'm not sure what the colorway is because it's stuffed inside the middle of the ball, and I don't want to take that out just yet. But I was pretty excited when I got this because I went to a local shop. I picked it up. I really, really, really liked it. And they had a sale going on that any yarn that you could make a case for it being Seattle Mariners themed yarn, they would give you a discount on. And so I was like, well, there's blue in there, there's a little bit of white in there, maybe gray, I don't know. I'm like, it's definitely kind of Seahawky, you know? And she was like, that's good enough for me. And so I got the discount. So that was an unexpected surprise because I was gonna buy it anyway, you know? And she was like, she's like, really? You could say anything and I'm gonna give you the discount because that's just how we roll here. So that was really nice. You know, I saved quite a bit on that. And it's lovely yarn. So I got that. I have, like I said, I have a lot coming in the mail. I have yarn that I ordered from Etsy coming that is in Slytherin colors. And I'm hoping to finish a pair of socks for the Knitted Broomstick podcast knit along. See, I told you, I'm doing a lot of knit alongs. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So, but I hope I get it in time to enter into that. Because again, that's an April 30th deadline. And I'm not sure that's going to happen, but I will try. It's supposed to come in a few days. Other yarn in the mail. I ordered some Tosh DK from Webs, and that should be coming soon. And I'm going to be using it for the Equinox scarf, which is a pattern by Riza Knits of the Riza Knits podcast. And I think there's a knit along happening for that as well. So that one has a later deadline, so I'm not worried about getting that done. I haven't decided if I'm doing the scarf or the shawl version of that, but we shall see. We'll just see how it goes. So I think that's about it. I have decided, I've made a decision that I'm not going to be buying yarn for a while. I have a lot of projects on the needles. I have a lot of yarn in the stash. And I think until I run out of sock yarn, I'm not going to be buying any more sock yarn. Even with the box of socks KAL keeping me motivated to knit socks. We'll see how long it lasts, but that's not to say I'm not going to buy yarn. I might buy yarn if I decide I want to knit something that's multiple colors and maybe I need like something to complement something in stash, but I'm really going to try to make my main color for those types of projects be something in my stash because I have a lot of yarn in the stash. It's ridiculous. And I know I'm not as bad as some people, and I say bad, but it's not really bad. Some people don't mind having a ton of yarn. I kind of feel like where I am now, we don't have a lot of space, and it's difficult to find places to put my yarn where they're not going to get messed up and, you know, and things don't look cluttery. I really feel like I have overgrown the space that I have for knitting supplies. And I do try to be minimalistic as much as I can. It's something I'm working on, so I am going to make an effort to not buy any more yarn until I knit through some of this sock yarn. And I've got like 7 or 9 skeins of sock yarn, which I know is not as many as a lot of people, but for me it's a lot. It's a lot. Gotta keep that under wraps here. So yeah, I hope that, you know, you got something out of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I'm working on. I hope you liked meeting my son again. It was sort of a slice of life thing, and you saw him in there. He's a handful, let me tell you. He's very precocious. Yeah. Anyway, like this video, subscribe to this channel if you wish, and until next time, happy knitting!